pleasure to welcome you to the City of Houston Housing and Community Development July's Lunch and Learn, Getting Your Affairs in Order. My name is Latasha Smith, and I am the Community Involvement Coordinator for the newly named Communication and Outreach Division. In today's event, we will discuss getting your affairs in order, which means legally arranging your financial accounts, property, and personal and medical information in such a way that family members and trusted people in your life can handle your estate affairs with as little inconvenience as possible. We have a great presenter this morning and a lot of great information to share and cover. So we want to get started as quickly as possible. Just a few housekeeping notes that I would like to mention. First, we would like that all audio should remain muted throughout the presentation. Second, we are requesting that you put any questions in the chat box function. During the Q&A portion of today's event, we will assure that our presenter will tend to those questions at that time. Lastly, this is a recorded event. The recording and presentation will be available to all attendees after the event. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your time today to attend our event. Now I will give this back over to Ms. Dejanay Jones to tell you about our agenda for today's event. Thank you, Dejanay.
Thank you, Latasha. On the agenda today, we will have the introduction of our director and outreach team. We'll have a mini fair housing commercial, introduction of today's guest, question and answers, upcoming events, and final remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Onika Porter, and I would like to introduce our director, Mr. Keith W. Bynum, and I would like to introduce our outreach team. Myself, Onika Porter, I'm the admin manager. Latasha Smith, she's our community involvement coordinator. Pedro Sosa, he's one of our community liaisons. Becky Benitez, she's also one of our community liaisons. And Dejanay Jones, she's a community liaison. Thank you.
Now back to Daisha.
All right. So now we are up to the person that you came to see today, and that we are so happy to have joined us for our event today. Our presenter for today is Miss Lisa Nelson. She is a staff attorney for Opal Mitchell Property, and she is a part of the Earl Carl Institute of Legal and Social Policy. So now we will give our undivided attention to Miss Lisa Nelson. Thank you, Lisa, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here today, and I'm really excited to give this presentation today. I'm here today to talk about getting your affairs in orders, and my two biggest focuses are the importance of having a will and also how to manage airship property. And airship property is property that has basically a family home, property that has been in your family for several generations. I'm with the Earl Carl Institute for Legal and Social Policy at Texas Southern University. We're affiliated with Thurgood Marshall Law School, and we have a variety of amazing programs. I encourage you to go to our website to see. I focus on probate, will preparation, and estate planning. We have a lot of programs on eviction representation, foreclosure representation, and we also have several different criminal justice and school programs, including the Black Girls Initiative and Safe and Supportive Schools and the Right to Justice. I'm in the property program, and our goal is to promote housing stability and increase generational wealth. Basically, we can do anything involved with either keeping your home, keeping your apartment, or keeping your family property within your family. We'll start with talking about wills. I've been an estate planning lawyer for a long time, and it amazes me that people are either 100% on board, agreeing that yes, of course we need a will. Why wouldn't we need a will? To people who think I don't need a will. They don't either. They think that's going to bring bad luck on themselves by realizing that there is a point when they need to do end of life planning, or they're just worried about any family distress. But a good will does so much for your family. It protects you because you make sure that your last wishes are honored, and it helps your family because they know exactly what you wanted. With a will, it makes it so much easier for your loved ones to handle the processes after you pass away. It allows them to focus on their grief and their mourning as opposed to dealing with a court system and dealing with complications when you don't have a will. So please get a will. I don't even know why I said consider. A will is a legal document that explains who you want to inherit your property. A will is not ever set in stone. You can change it as many times as you like. A lot of people get nervous about having an attorney write their will. They either think, I don't have much money, I don't have many things. It is always best to have an attorney write your will. If you don't have an attorney write your will, there is a chance that your wishes will not be honored. There is a much better chance that your loved ones may fight. Sadly, we don't know how our loved ones will grieve us. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen people fight over very small things just because they want to prove who was your favorite person. Another thing about wills, they only handle what's called probate assets. Probate assets are basically your stuff, your house, your car, your property, any financial accounts that you have. You can name payable on death beneficiaries, and it will not pass through the probate system. It goes directly to those people. And one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that a child under 18 cannot inherit property, and they cannot be the executor. The executor is the manager of your estate. You need to have an adult, someone over 18, to do those things. A lot of common mistakes are people say, Mama didn't have a will, but I'm a power of attorney, so I can take care of this. Powers of attorney are only valid while the person is living. Once someone has passed away, the power of attorney is void. Texas does let you prepare your own will, but it has to be completely in your own handwriting. It cannot be typed. It cannot be some type of fill in the blank form that you get out of the internet. It needs to be completely in your own handwriting. There are a lot of people who, are worried about the cost of a lawyer, intimidated by having an attorney. That's the best way to ensure that your wishes are honored, is to have an attorney prepare your will. I have so many sad stories of people who use forms from the internet, and those forms were not found valid by the court. And then what happened is the court controls everything, and your loved ones don't get your assets. Most of that goes to pay the court. A lot of people think that a married couple can have one will. That is not true. Each spouse must have a separate will. It's also important to list all of your children, stepchildren, and grandchildren, especially if you want to disinherit them. If you have a child that for whatever reason, a child that has dishonored you and you don't want them to inherit, if you don't list them on the will, they can come to the court and say, well, clearly daddy had dementia because he would never have left me off his will. He forgot about me. He wasn't in his right mind. And they'd be able to take more control than you would like. So you need to this is one of the important reasons to have a lawyer prepare your will, is to make sure that no child can come back and say that this will was not what you meant at all. Another important thing is you have to have your original will presented to the court after you pass away. So please keep your will in a safe place. One of the things that I recommend to my clients is you can store your will at the courthouse. They actually have a provision where it's only a $5 fee and the court will keep your will for safekeeping. And that way you don't have to worry about it getting lost, about somebody tearing it up or trying to change it. Please let your family know where your will is. One of the important things once you pass away is that they need to know where that will is for their own information and also so they can get it to a lawyer. Estate plan sounds intimidating. Again, people think, well, I don't have an estate. I don't have that much. Why do I need an estate plan? An estate plan is much more simple than that. An estate plan includes a will or a trust, or a will and a trust, a transfer on death deed that would transfer your home to the family member or person, good friend that you would like to inherit your house, a statutory durable power of attorney, which is also the financial power of attorney, the person who controls your business if you're not able to take care of your business, a medical power of attorney, designation of guardian for yourself if later you are not able to care for yourself, and also a designation of guardian if you have a minor child. Directive to physician, which is also known as a living will, and an appointment of agent for disposition of remains, which is appointing a person you want to handle your funeral and your final wishes. I love transfer on death deeds. One of our top missions in the property program is to get transfer on death deeds for everybody in the community. A great Texas law allows people who own real property, that's real estate, a house, investment property, you can record a deed naming whoever you would wish to own that property after you pass away. This is something you do not need an attorney for. There's a wonderful website, texaslawhelp.org, and you can find a sample form and instructions on how to fill it out there. With the transfer on death deed, you retain full ownership rights as long as you are living. You can change your beneficiary. You can completely revoke it and have your house pass and sell your house if that's what you decide you want to do. You have full ownership rights as long as you're living. It is important on this deed to have the full legal description as opposed to the description on your property tax bill. The most important thing is that you must record this and the real property records of the county clerk and the county where your property is before you pass away. This saves your beneficiary so much time and money because they don't have to probate your will. They don't have to go through the courts to handle your affairs. They can simply go to the county clerk's office and show them your death certificate and their ID, and that house is there. That house belongs to that person right then and there. That transfer happens within a few short minutes as opposed to the months to years that it takes to probate an estate. Without having to go to a probate process, Medicaid cannot seek reimbursement. The Medicaid Estate Recovery Program is a program that most commonly people need Medicaid to pay for nursing home care. If you do not pass your house through a transfer on death deed or a life estate deed, Medicaid is allowed to seek reimbursement for the expenses they paid on your behalf. If it doesn't go through the probate courts, they are not legally allowed to seek reimbursement. So it's a good way to protect your family wealth. Statutory durable power of attorney is a very complicated word for a financial power of attorney. You have two options with this power of attorney. It can be effective immediately, or it can be effective when your doctor says that you are incapacitated. And you designate someone to handle your business. You need to spend a long time thinking about who is most trustworthy in your life, because your agent acting under the power of attorney stands in your shoes. And depending on how detailed your power of attorney document is, they could literally put you out on the street. I can tell you so many sad stories about people who appoint a child to be their power of attorney and then determine that the child is stealing from them because they have the right to cash the checks. If you want your agent to be able to sell any real estate that you own, or apply for any loans against your house, like a home improvement loan, you should record the power of attorney, the original one, at the real property office at the county clerk where the property is located. Medical power of attorney only becomes effective once your doctor says that you are unable to make healthcare decisions. Be sure to ask your agent if they're comfortable making medical decisions. I have a lot of people that realize they have one child who has a great business head and would be perfect to be the financial power of attorney, but they realize that child would not be as comfortable making decisions with their doctors. So think about, with both of these, think about who would be the best person to honor your wishes. When you decide who you want to appoint as your medical power of attorney, please discuss your medical history with them and any feelings you have about treatment. I didn't think that much about treatment decisions until recently, but with COVID, I make sure that people let their medical power of attorney know, yes, I would like experimental treatments. Normally, I would be opposed to a ventilator, but if I get COVID, please put me on a ventilator. So sit down with the agent you appoint under your medical power of attorney and let them know how you feel about different treatment options. If you have children under 18, it is important to appoint a guardian to take care of them if something should happen to you. The best reason to have this appointment of guardian document is you can list anybody you don't want to act as your children's guardian. You know, I've got a sister who would absolutely be the best person to care for my children. I've got another sister that she's not that responsible. She's a great person. I love her, but I don't think that she would act in my kids' best interest. So you can be completely honest with who you want and who you don't want. I have friends that have not done their estate planning because the two parents can't agree on who should take care of the kids. Nobody has to see this document. You don't have to worry about offending who you don't appoint. God willing, you will never need to use it. No one will ever need to use this document. But it is important for you to be able to choose who would take care of your children if the worst should happen. That being said, you can't use this document to change family court orders. You may have an ex, your child's other parent, who you absolutely do not want to care for them. This is not the way to change that. That can only be changed through a family court order. Along with having a guardian to take care of any young children you have, you can also appoint somebody to be your guardian in case in the future something happens and you're not able to care for yourself. So again, you choose whoever you trust the most if you're not able to take care of yourself. There are two different types of guardians. There is a guardian of the person. That person makes your daily life decisions, such as where you live, taking you to your doctor appointments, making sure you're well fed, everything related to your comfort and well-being. You also appoint a guardian of the estate. That person acts just like the statutory durable power of attorney, the financial power of attorney. They manage your property, your business. And again, this is really important because you can name anyone who you do not want to be your guardian, that you do not trust to have your best interest in. Directive to physicians is something that most people call a living will. And it is so hard to go over this document with clients and with my family, but it is a gift to your family. When we lost my granny, I was so grateful she had this document because I knew that she did not want to be kept alive. What this document says, if your doctor tells you that you're going to die in 6 months, do you want to have all medical equipment kept on to keep you alive, or would you want to pass peacefully? So this document gives you the option, allows you to tell your family if you want or do not want life support. This is not the same as a do not resuscitate document. That is something that a lawyer does not prepare for you. That is prepared through your doctor's office, through a hospital. This document does not have that same legal effect, but it lets your family know whether you want to be kept alive using all possible methods. It's a great, as I said, from my own personal experience, it gives your family comfort to know what you want. It's horrible to be faced with having to decide this for a loved one. If you know that your loved one has very strong feelings about whether they would like to be kept alive, it gives them so much comfort to know what you want. Once you get your directive to physicians and your medical power of attorney, you want to give these documents to all of your healthcare providers, all of your doctors, and whoever your agent is to take care of your medical wishes. The appointment for disposition of remains is who you want to control your wishes for your funeral. This document lets you choose somebody and you let them know whether you want to be buried, cremated, donate your body to science, whatever you like. But this gives you and your families the comfort of knowing exactly what your last wishes are. If you don't have this document, Texas law gives the authority to your family. I have had situations, a wonderful man did not have any family, but had very dear friends. And by having this document in place, his friends were able to honor his wishes, which were he wanted to be cremated. They would not have cremated him without this document because of the laws of Texas. So this document, appointing an agent for disposition of remains, honors that your last wishes will be honored. And we recommend setting up a bank account or giving the agent access to some money so that they can handle your final wishes. Another big mission at why the Property Preservation Department was founded is because of so many people who have difficulty keeping their homes in the family. There are so many people that have, we call it airship property that has been in the family for so many generations, but that title is still in the name, the deed is still in the name of the great-great-grandparents. Airship property is property that has been in your family for a long time. You know, a lot of people just say, this is our family home. This is our family farm. If you live on property, or if there's, rural property that's been in your family for multiple generations, you need to make sure that the property is deeded to the current resident. Or if not the current resident, the current generation. I'm primarily with homesteads, I want it deeded to the people who live in the house so that they can get their homestead and other property tax exemptions. But if it's, property out in the country, we just want it in the names of whoever the current generation is. Clearing title is important because we have so many clients who've been living in property beautiful, beautiful property that has been in their family for a long time. And then we get a hurricane. We get that horrible winter storm that we had last year, and they apply for federal, state, or city programs to get the house fixed up. You don't qualify if the title is not in the name of the people living in the property. So they come to us, we spend the time to get that title in their name, but that takes some time, and that delays their ability to get that assistance. Additionally, you might be missing out on property tax exemptions. I was working with a client just a few days ago that had property that their great-grandmother owned, and she hadn't even put it in her name. It was still in the name of, I think, the great-great-grandmother. And that woman spent her whole life paying more property taxes than she needed to. On the other hand, I have a lot of clients that inherit a home from a grandparent, and they don't want me to fill out the property tax forms because, oh no, I don't want to lose my senior citizen exemption. The tax assessor will eventually find out that person has passed away. You'll have to pay all the taxes that you owed throughout your life, the interest, and a great deal of penalties. So please make sure your property tax ownership is filled out correctly. When you realize that you're living in a family home that doesn't have a proper deed, there are two ways that you can save it. You can have an affidavit of airship, which is a really quick and easy process. You can also clear it through court. The court can help you in a few ways. If the loved one has died less than 4 years ago, you can go to probate court and go through a legal process to transfer the title to whoever's living in the house now. If it's been more than 4 years since the person has passed, you can still, if they had a will, you should still be able to go to probate court and get the title cleared up that way. There's also a legal situation called adverse possession. It's a complicated law, but if you've been living in property for at least 10 years and you meet all the legal requirements, which is basically everybody knows you live there, you pay the taxes, you pay the utilities, you keep the lawn cleaned up, you can file an adverse possession lawsuit. And that's another way to clear the title to the house. Most often what I do is an affidavit of airship. That's basically a legal document that shows the family tree. So you have two people who knew the deceased person. They're called disinterested witnesses because they don't have a legal right to the real estate, but they knew that person well. They have to sign a document in the presence of a notary stating that I knew this person for however many years. These are the people she was married to. These are her children. It shows who is legally entitled to that property. That is filed with the county clerk and the county where the property is located. There is a small filing fee. If the property is in Harris County, it's usually between $30 and $40. It's $18 for the first page and $4 for each additional page. Affidavit of airship is something that you do not need an attorney for. You do need an attorney if you're going to probate court. You can go to texaslawhelp.org to get a sample form, and it will walk you through the process of filling this out. Just like the transfer on death deed, it's critical to use the full legal description, which is not located on the property tax, it's located on the deed. If you can't find the deed, you can go to the county clerk's office and they will help you find it. Once I get family property cleared up, I tell my clients, please let me do your estate plans so your children, your loved ones do not go through the same process that you went through. The best thing is to, first of all, execute a will, which is, execute sounds awful. It means have somebody prepare a will and sign it and name the person you wish to inherit your home. As I said earlier, the best thing is to have a transfer on death deed or a life estate deed, which a lot of people call ladybird deed, allows you to transfer real property and your loved ones don't have to go through the probate court. This saves a lot of time and money. Thank you so much for your time. I am very happy to answer your questions. Please keep your questions general. This is being recorded and you don't want to have your personal business all over the internet. You are welcome to contact me personally and I will be glad to talk with you. Our phone number is 713-313-1139. You can also go to our website, which I encourage you to do because we have numerous programs that can help you. And it's earlcarlinstitute.org. I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Lisa. And now we will have, Lisa, I think we may have had a question in the chat. The first question I see here was, what is the difference? Jeffrey, if you could please elaborate on what do you mean by what is the difference, and we'll get back to that one. How do you do a transfer on death deed with a jointly owned property?
With jointly owned property, both of you would need to sign the deed. So the transfer on death deed is pretty easy to figure out. You can, I encourage everybody to go to texaslawhelp.org. If you like, I can share my screen and show you how to do that. With jointly owned property, both homeowners would sign the deed.
Thank you. The next question I see here, can we get a copy of the slides? I do believe that this will be available on Tuesday. What are the average fees for writing a will with an attorney?
The first thing I would encourage you to do is to talk with more than one attorney, talk to your friends, and ask them about attorneys that they have used and how they recommended them. Fees, it should be less than $1,000. There are attorneys who see this as I hate to disparage members of my profession, but there are attorneys that see this as a way to make a lot of money and will try to encourage you to do more than you need. If they're charging more than $1,000, I would question their motives. I also would encourage you to reach out. I'm a part of a partnership called AMOS, a month of service. We have various city and county agencies, and we provide will clinics. And if you're over 60, you should be able to get a will done without charge. With my particular office, we are limited by, we can only represent people with a low income, but there are multiple agencies in the state, in the city that will do a will free or at a reduced price.
Okay, we have another one here. What is the process of having your will kept at the court?
Great question. I always offer to do it for my clients, so you can ask your attorney. But if you already have a will and you'd like to do it, you just need to go downtown to the courthouse, go to the probate clerk's office, which is on the 8th floor, and it's only $5. And they put it in an envelope. They will hand you an envelope, and you fill out the 3 names of people who can remove your will if you decide to change it, or if you should pass, and then they will keep it in their files for you, and it keeps it safe.
The DNR and the Directive to Physicians, what are the differences?
The Directive to Physicians states your wishes, but it is not legally binding. The DNR is legally binding. The reason why I don't do it, some attorneys may give you the form, but it has to be signed by a doctor and by multiple witnesses. The DNR is legally binding, and that makes it, you cannot be resuscitated. They cannot give you CPR. They just have to let you pass. If you are in hospice, they give your caregiver strict instructions to not call 911. If 911 is called, they legally have to revive you. So the physician's directive gives your family the opportunity to know what you would like. The DNR is a legally binding document.
Further to Eva's question regarding the cost of getting a will done, what is the average cost to get all of the recommended documents completed?
It should be less than $1,000 if you do not have a trust. I'll address trust briefly. If you listen to a lot of financial advice radio shows or TV programs, people talk about how wonderful a trust is. In some states, a trust is terrific because probate is expensive. In the state of Texas, probate is not an expensive process, and a will is perfectly fine. A lot of attorneys recommend trust just because they can charge you more for it. That being said, if you have young children, if you have disabled children, if your spouse is disabled, you do want to have a trust. But if you just need a will and those other mentioned, it should be less than $1,000.
Alrighty. Can you share that information for the clinics or where we can access the resources?
Oh my goodness. Please, I'm not at the office today. If you call me on Monday, and I'll put my email address, you can email me today and I can get that information for you. There is a general intake number that I do not know off the top of my head.
Okay. We have another one here in the chat. What is the average cost of a probate?
That depends. It's roughly between 500. If you have a will that is legally valid and nobody fights, it could be between $1,500 and $2,000. If you don't have a will, I'd say starting price is $1,500 because there's going to be many more court costs. And I know that sounds like an intimidating number. It does to me as well. But just think of how much easier it is for your loved ones when you leave your wishes in place and they have a legally valid way to take care of it. There is a process in Texas called a small estate affidavit. If your property, not including your house, is less than $75,000, you could do a small, and you do not have a will, your family can do a small estate affidavit. The bad thing about the small estate affidavit is it doesn't transfer any real estate unless there is a surviving spouse. But if you have a loved one that has just left behind maybe a bank account, a car, small things like that, you can use a small estate affidavit if they didn't have a will.
If you decided to change or update your will, do you have to go back to the original attorney or can you do it yourself?
You need to go back. You need to go to an attorney. You don't have to go to the original attorney. If you just take your will and scratch things out and write what the changes are, that will not be legally valid. In Texas, you can have a handwritten will. When our COVID numbers were really high, I told people, write a handwritten will, come see me once we're safer to get together in person. But I highly recommend having an attorney do your will, just because you don't know how your loved ones are going to grieve. And this way you know that your wishes will be followed.
My mom had an updated will, but she didn't remember where she put it. She passed a few weeks later and all we had was her old will, but her estates only had $2,000. So we filed the old will and avoided probate.
That's absolutely fine. And this is where I go back to, please let your loved ones know where your will is. I think that the absolute best thing is to file your will at the courthouse so you know it's kept safe. But let your loved ones know where your will is so that they can find it.
Thank you so much for the information. All right, Lisa. Well, we do thank you for joining us. I do believe that will be it for our question and answer portion of it. Now we will have our upcoming outreach events. The next Lunch and Learn will be held on Friday, August 19th, 11 a.m. until 12 noon. The topic will be charities extending a helping hand. And now over to our closing remarks with Ms. Porter.
Hello, everyone. Again, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Lisa, for the wealth of information. I feel like we got a lot of things answered, a lot of questions answered. There was a lot of information that I wasn't even aware of, and I hope it was very helpful for all of our guests today. I would like to also thank the outreach team because they're also always doing a wonderful job at putting our Lunch and Learns together. And again, please, please, please join our future events. They're up on our website. And if you have any questions that may not have been answered today, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you, guys, and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. I was really happy to speak with you today, and I covered a whole lot of information very quickly, so please feel free to reach out.